Well, welcome back, everyone. We are still live here at the White House, and as we said, we had a chance to speak to virtually all of the major TARP recipient banks, literally all of the top 5 here. One of them, who got a lot of talk earlier this week after some comments to the Los Angeles Times about returning his $45 billion of TARP, was Ken Lewis, the CEO of Bank of America. Here is what he had to say.
Well, it's setting it up. It was like we're all in this together, and we've got some work to do. I was impressed by the president's knowledge of a lot of the facts and the circumstances, and it was a cooperative, pleasant meeting. But again, with the recognition that we're not going to agree on everything.
What issue do you feel that you feel the most differently from him on coming out of that room? Everyone's talking about cooperation, but there's some issues where everyone doesn't agree. What's the issue where you really feel that the bankers aren't on the same page as the president?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's any one specific. I mean, you'll get into at sometimes, I guess, compensation and issues that you may have a difference in degree. But I think all of us. I said in September that the golden age of banking and bank compensation was over. So I personally understood that months ago.
You had put out a letter to your employees last week in the back of the House bill when they had passed the 90% tax retroactive on pay. Did you feel like the president gave you an answer on where he stands on that, or do you feel like you still have to go to your employees and say, I don't know if they're going to take your money back?
Yeah. No, I got the impression both from him and from some of the things that are going on behind the scenes that cooler heads are going to prevail, and that nothing will be done that is that punitive. What the answer will be, I don't know, but I feel pretty confidently that the answers that we saw before will not be the final answer.
And you had made some comments widely quoted from the Los Angeles Times about returning TARP money, which I know is $45 billion plus. Obviously, there were loan guarantees. Was it said in the heat of the moment, or do you feel like this is the time to give it back?
No, we would want to give it back as soon as we can, and we don't know exactly now what the reaction will be from the regulators and from the Secretary of the Treasury, but as soon as it makes sense, we'd like to return it.
And you can return it?
And we can.
And just a final question to you. Jamie Dimon had mentioned that March was a little bit worse for J.P. Morgan than earlier in the quarter. Was it for Bank of America?
Well, yeah, the trading book was not as good as it was in the first 2 months, but deposit flows actually were pretty good.
And so net still profitable.
We still expect a profit. Oh, I'm sorry, it went too far into the quarter now. I shouldn't be talking.
Okay, all right, I'll let it go there. We got what we need. Thank you very much, Mr. Lewis. I appreciate it. All right, clearly, obviously, Bank of America is saying it still intends to be profitable for the quarter. Well, all of this, we're here in Washington. We wanted to focus on the bigger picture question, which is how much money is being printed in this country. When Fed Chief Ben Bernanke said he was going to print money, he didn't actually mean it, though. To send money to the CEOs we just spoke to, all the TARP, $150 billion of TARP in the room, it all happened electronically. It's not actual paper, which got us to wondering about, well, how much paper is left in American currency. As it turns around, all of the paper used for American money is manufactured by Crane and Company. Douglas Crane is Crane and Company's manager of currency products and a 7th-generation Crane paper maker. He joins us from the company's headquarters in Dalton, Massachusetts. Mr. Crane, thanks so much for being with us. And I must confess, I have been so curious about this for a long time, and a lifetime user of Crane's paper, may I say. How much of the paper, though, when we talk about $1.1 trillion coming into the system, how much of it actually gets printed on bills?
Well, that's a good question, I think that the quantity of paper that's being printed these days is pretty much in keeping with some of the past volumes. At least that's what we've seen.
So do you actually, how does it work? Do they increase their orders to you?
Well, the Federal Reserve System will respond to the demand for currency, and as they require newer bills to be put into circulation to replace the ones that are taken out, they order those notes from the Bureau of Engraving and Printing in Washington.
And then Crane actually gets printed on Crane's paper. So have you seen any increase from the Bureau of Engraving for Crane's paper?
Well, we've certainly noticed a slight shift in some of the denominations that are being ordered, and I think that it could be a connection with some of the economic events that have been going on.
And shift in the denominations, and by that you mean whether it's $1, $10, or $100?
That's correct, yes.
And what has the the shift been? I'm just out of pure curiosity. Shift to what?
Well, excuse me, we've seen an increase in the orders for $100 paper.
An increase in orders for $100 paper. Well, that is interesting and something we're going to actually follow up on, because I think a lot of our viewers, like us, are very curious about this entire process. Doug Crane, we'll look forward to having you back on again, and thanks so much for taking time out of your day.
Thank you very much.
Doug Crane, as we said, seventh generation, and is the head of Crane's Paper, exclusive paper of the U.S. Mint. We'll get ready to stop trading. Jim Craner is here to talk about the financial summit that we've been lucky enough to participate in here in